All right, everybody, this is Sheets, and I'm going to be going over the MMA slate for this weekend. And, I'm almost glad that I didn't get into betting MMA and DFS until this year because I wouldn't realize this. But from what I've heard, this is like an atrocious card with respect to the strength of the fighters or whatever. But since I don't know much about that anyway, I'm looking at this slate. This slate is wild. Okay, this slate to me has all kinds of interesting stuff in it, and I think that this slate can certainly be won solo. I don't think there's going to be chops. There's a lot of points available, and I think there's a couple of very interesting things that this slate brings up with respect to DFS theory and things like that. So let's just kind of get into it. I mean, there's some really, really good inside the distance props. There's some good grappling upside, whatever it is. And right off the bat, I mean, let's talk about some of these key fights. I mean, like this one right here, right? I think it might be the first fight of the night. I'm not even sure, but Koski and Rowe. I mean, it's got an extremely strong inside the distance prop. Favored to finish in the first 2 rounds, and the pricing is somewhat reasonable. Koski and Rowe, what are the prices here? We're going back and forth between DraftKings, whatever. Koski was 8,800 and 7,400. This is a very, very live underdog for openers. Philip Rowe apparently has better striking, and he's a little more polished, and Koski, he's going to be going for those takedowns and for wrestling stuff, and so he's got upside. I think that this fight is a really, really good fight to target. So I'm definitely going to have a whole bunch of this. And you'll look at the price. I mean, you'll have Rowe. He's only a plus 130 underdog, and he's priced like he's a 2-to-1 dog. And you're going to see this kind of throughout this card. I mean, some of these underdogs are priced like they have no chance to win, but remember, I mean, plus 130 is not that much. Next fight here, I mean, Ronnie Lawrence, Trevin Jones. So Ronnie Lawrence has just an insane amount of upside with respect to his style. I mean, he's going to probably go for a zillion takedowns, all kinds of control time, which is exactly what we want with MMA. With the new DFS DraftKings scoring. And then on the other hand, you have Trevin Jones, who has incredible knockout power, especially when people try to close the distance. So you have Ronnie Lawrence going to hopefully try to close the distance, get his takedowns, and Trevin Jones looking to get that counter punching ability. And you have a lot of fireworks that are up for grabs here. So here you have this. The inside the distance prop is okay, about Pick'em to be under 2.5 rounds, but you throw in the wrestling and grappling upside for Ronnie Lawrence, this fight becomes an extremely, extremely good DFS fight here. So, I mean, right out of the gate, you got these 2 fights, which I really want to have 100% of, to the point where, like, some of these fights to me are just toss-outs. I mean, like Yoder and Jin Fry. I mean, it's just nothing to offer here at all. The inside the distance prop is atrocious. It's low volume. It's just terrible. And even a fight like this, like Kai Kamaka, where normally you might, want to target because of the prices of these guys are very close. But the inside the distance prop is really, really poor. And with all these other fights that are rating to score 100+ fantasy points for the winner, you just can't play fights like this. So, this whole card might be low level, but from an instructional perspective and from a DFS perspective, I think it's a great, great card because I know exactly what fights I want pieces of and what fights I don't. So we'll get back to Rafi Garcia in a second, but he is a very, one of the biggest favorites on the slate. He's a minus 300 favorite. And his price is, I'm going to show this for a reason. I mean, he's 9,500, okay? And he's like a 3-to-1 favorite. And I guess that's somewhat fair, but I don't know if we need to play him. Now, look at his inside the distance prop. It's favored to go over 2.5 rounds. And if unless he's has an incredible amount of takedown upside, which I don't think he does, and I just think this is going to be a kind of a methodical, slow, boring win for Garcia. We'll just outstrike him. He's not favored to finish him, right? It's basically a pick 'em to whether it goes to decision. And if this fight goes to decision, and you have a $9,500 guy, you lose. And that's just the way it goes, unless he's got a whole bunch of takedowns, which is not what's supposed to happen here. The next fight is somewhat interesting. So Colin Anglin against this guy whose name I can't pronounce. The inside the distance prop is not particularly great. However, I mean, it's not the worst. And Anglin apparently has a lot of wrestling. He's got a lot of takedown upside. So he could be a guy who you might want to target as an underdog, because if he wins, you know, it's probably going to involve like some takedowns. So even if he doesn't get a finish, he could score really, really well. So I do like him as one of the live underdogs. Then you get to this fight, which to me is boring as all hell. I mean, the inside the distance prop is poor. There's no significant win equity, you know, that's being mispriced. I mean, I kind of want to get away from this fight. I'll probably throw them into my projection models, and if I get some, you know, Montano, I might play it, but I don't know. And then you get to this, right? So you have Jason Witt here, who is a 2-to-1 underdog, right? Just slightly over 2-to-1. And Jason Witt is, you know, he's from that kind of, he's from that sneaky gym of James Krause, Glory MMA, who's really, really good. And in his last fight, I mean, you know, a lot of people liked him, and he got waxed by Semmelsberger in like 30 seconds. But I almost want to consider that almost like an outlier. Okay, I mean, he got caught, but he's got wrestling, he's got takedown upside. And while Brian Barberina, you know, is definitely the favorite for a reason, look what we have here. You have a very strong inside the distance prop for Barberina, okay? And Jason Witt has takedown upside. And check this out. He's a 220 underdog, but he's priced like he's like a 4-to-1 underdog. I mean, look at this. He's 6,600. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, so again, he's not favored to win or anything like that. He's probably going to lose, but he's got a perfect combination of the style we want. I mean, hell, he could get there in a loss, you know? So this fight, I almost want to have 100% of this one as well. Good and Stoltz, just no interest on this slate, you know? It's favored to go over 2.5 rounds. No other reason to get any part of that. And these other ones, I mean, look at this. Adeshev and here we have a terrible inside the distance prop. Don't want any of that. DePalo, Cheyenne Boys. Cheyenne Boys lost like a 5-to-1 favorite in her last fight. Not a lot of excitement here. Then you get to this Ronnie Yaya fight. So the inside the distance prop is okay, but Ronnie Yaya is like a submission genius, okay? So again, he can get that finish, you know, if in fact that he wins. So I think that he rates to be an okay underdog too. So I will definitely want a piece of that. I don't think I'm going to go with Kang though. The inside the distance prop is not quite good enough for him, but Ronnie Yaya with his submission upside, I might have some of that. And then obviously, and then you get to the main event, which look at this. You have a good, first of all, you have a good inside the distance prop about pick'em to go 2.5 rounds, and you have that 5 rounds floor, which the DK optimizer still has not been able to figure out how to price for. And these guys are pretty close. I mean, well, you have Strickland is 2-to-1 favorite. I thought he'd be less, but whatever. What do I know? He's a 2-to-1 favorite, but again, he's being priced like he's freaking almost 3-to-1. I mean, you're getting Uriah Hall at 6,900. So I am going to be all over that fight as well. So I don't know. even though this is low level, I think this is a very, very instructional card. So just to summarize, all right, you have these great fights to start off the card with the good inside the distance props, and those are who did I say? Rowe and Koski and Ronnie Lawrence and Trevin Jones. I think those fights are amazing. Then you have these grappling upside dudes like Englund and Ronnie Yaya who make decent, long shot plays. Then you have what I feel is kind of like just hopelessly underpriced dogs, being Jason Witt and also Uriah Hall. And Jason Witt carries with him also that grappling upside. So I think he's extremely live, but yet on the other hand, with the strong inside the distance prop, Barberina's strong. So for me, you got 4 key fights. You have Witt Barberina, you have the main event, you have Roe Koski, you have Trevin Jones Lawrence, and was there a fourth? Probably was. And I say Ronnie Lawrence, Trevin Jones, maybe. And then you have some other live dogs that you can kind of flow in there, like as I said, who was that? Jason, what I already talked about, but also Ronnie Yaya. And then if you want to go pay for those kind of chalky 9,200 guys that I mentioned, the Rafi Garcia, you can afford to do it with the 6,900s. And yeah, Englund, he was the other kind of semi-live dog. So that's pretty much it. Very, very short review, but I know where I'm going with this slate. And maybe you guys will come with me. Maybe we'll get it done. We'll see. Good luck, and let's get it.